I'm David, founder and CEO of Base Intelligence, and thanks for joining me again. I was away for a couple of weeks, some family stuff, and obviously there was a holiday in the US. So we're back at it and ready to go ahead and start doing some threat hunting. So today I wanted to start with our Base Early Alert, our threat intelligence feed, and I want to go ahead and see if we can find some new campaigns. And we won't add them as campaigns yet because we don't quite have the functionality in the UI to add them quickly as campaigns. That's coming. But what we'll do is go ahead and look for some new campaigns, and then look for some other relevant topics that are around right now. Shopping and deals and all those fun things that happen with Christmas and other holidays that are around this time of the year. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen and make sure I don't have anything bad on there. I think we're good. Okay, so I've got, this is Postman. This is just the easiest way to look at our threat intelligence feed outside of our product. So this is, I did a call a little bit earlier. You can see that this was maybe a half hour ago. But what I did was I guess it's a little bit longer than a half hour ago since this is UTC time, but within the last day. And what I have is the easiest way to find things that we don't yet recognize as campaigns, but that could potentially be campaigns, is to look for IOCs equaling null. So in this case, we have IOCs as null. And so that means that we didn't recognize this as a campaign. If you wanted to see one that we, all right, let me just remember 4228. If you want to see one that has IOCs that aren't null, just look at something like this. So this is a campaign that we call Silent Coders Lima Haruf. You can say however you'd like, but it comes from a string that's within the content, I believe. It's written in the campaign details if you go to our campaign tracker. But anyway, let's go back to the one that I was just talking about. It's line 4229. All right, so we got this one. And so interestingly, what we see here is we identified something. So the URL that was submitted to the system is google-8 blah blah blah.vercel.app. Then we went to a final URL. That's where the phishing site in this case ended up being, which had a hashtag and some information after it. And I apologize, my dogs are going to be a jerk because my wife got home. Perfect timing. And so one second, I'm going to close the door. At least attempt to minimize the noise a little bit. But anyway, so we have this, and we see that there was following activity to this sendvc.info, acesoffacebook.com, and we see a whole bunch of different URL parameters in there. But the interesting part here is, there's obviously the benefit to looking for things before they happen. Predictive security, preventive security, it's all something that matters. But you can't just rely on it on its own. This one being case in point, we see the URL is google-blah blah blah.vercel.app. If you were to just trust blindly the link, you would say, oh, this is targeting Google. Whereas in the identified brands and the information that we see in the URL, we can see that it's not targeting Google. It's actually targeting Facebook. So it's important to have these double checks and to have actual content analysis in addition to just grasping at straws from a name only. There's so many examples where you can't just trust the URL. It's a good starting point. It's a great way to identify things ahead of time, but it's not the only thing that you need. Layers, just like every other aspect of security, really important. So anyway, let's go ahead and check this out. I'll get off my stump. And so this is the analysis for it. And we can see, I double checked ahead of time that this wasn't going to pop up anything not safe for work. There's a lot of these Facebook-like things that pop up not safe for work things. This one is not one of them, thankfully. It's actually a large unidentified campaign that we have that I was going to talk about. It's 18 plus stuff, and it's not safe to talk about here. So anyway, so we see this is the result, and we see, hey, it looks like we're looking for an email or a phone number and a password. Facebook needs to verify your account information. So we see that information in here, and we see title for the page is Facebook videos, and then we see text and password information going to sendvc.info, aces facebook.php. So, pretty clear. Interesting stuff. Let's just pivot around and see when were these things first seen. So we see the destination that we visited. This is the Google blah 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 Vercel.app. So we can look at that. So it was first searched yesterday. So pretty recent. And we can see that we've analyzed it only both times. It looks, based on what we see in the interpretation over here, that it was the same kind of behavior. And we can see that there are different numbers associated with that. So maybe that's interesting, maybe it's not. Let's look at the follow-on activity to the sendvc.info. And so we see that this was first searched 2 days ago, and it's seen or searched 84 times in that period. So that's really interesting. You can kind of see from the seen on sites, which you need a free account to be able to see this, but a free account is easy to set up. We see seen on sites. So we see Google-3LZQ, which is the one that I think we just came from. Let's see if we see any others. So we see a bunch of the same ones. We see this Google-FAF, Google-D5AC. We see a bunch of different ones, and we can probably pivot back and see more. Yep, so we see, more different ones. Let's just see if anything looks not like Google followed by a bunch of random letters. And let's also see if there's anything that's not on Vercel.app. Okay, so that was it. There were somewhere around 30 results. So that's interesting. A bunch of different Google dash blah blah blahs. Let's go ahead and look at the analysis again, and let's look at the structural ID. So this is our site fingerprint. Site fingerprints allow us to identify attacks that are, attacks or non-attacks that span all sorts of different web pages and infrastructures and hosting providers and registrars and everything in between. So we can actually go and look at this. You can see the structural ID, and we've seen it, in fact, 600 times just in the last 4 days. So really popular right now. If you were a customer of Base Early Alert, our intelligence feed, you would see these 600 across the last 4 days. And you would see, depending on, so we're working with some threat intelligence platform partners that we'll announce soon. One of them, our data, everything about it goes into their system and shows up as groups of activity. This would all show up as a 600 odd grouped activity, even though we didn't identify it. So, even though we didn't identify it as a campaign specifically by name, it would be grouped. So you would see all this activity all together. And so we can see this sendvc.info, dozc.info. We can see that some of these are coming from is.good, which is a URL. Which is a URL shortener. We'll just look at one of those just to double check. So the link that we got there is is.good/that. Just a URL shortener. Nothing particularly exciting, but that's interesting because at that point we know that that is a malicious link. Okay, let's see what else we've got. Remember, all of these results happened in the last week. So we have so far two. Oh, and let's open this and just look. So this goes back to November 11th. That's interesting. So we'll come back to that in a minute. But let's finish up looking at this data and see if there are any other credential collection domains that we can identify, or if we can see any other kind of naming schemes. So far, we only see the Google stuff. And we only see the two follow-on destinations. Still the same. And I'm not going to go through all 600. Maybe I'll go through 100 and just see what we got. Maybe I'll skip back a little bit farther in a minute and see if there are any other ones. Yeah, let me just like... Okay, so we still see that same behavior. Let's just go a little bit farther. I'm sure the back end of my system's loving this. But anyway, it just looks like I have the same kind of behavior. Same Google dash random string dot vercel dot app. So it's even we can even look at one of these. It's all looking the same. So that's interesting. We've seen two different. So there's a counter 0 argument. I see Fantox 33. The other one I think was Dark Girl, which is not a super fun name. But anyway, two different names that we see. So far we've seen, based on structural ID, we've seen 612 different examples of this. They all look like they have the name Google dash blah. They all look like they're hosted on vercel.app. They all talk to, so far, one of two credential collection domains. I don't know if we looked at one. Yeah, so okay, so vidos c.info, and we had a different one. Let's look at those next to each other. So sendvc.info, you can see VDOZC. Yeah, so they're both 5-letter domain names. They're both .info. They both say aces facebook.php. The API looks the same. Yeah, so it looks very much the same. And we can see the LAN, which I'm guessing maybe is language. Messenger Asul is blue. So it looks like maybe they're trying to target Facebook Messenger. It'll be interesting to see. This is something we don't have right now, but in the future, you could imagine that this would be a pretty valuable thing to look for. Any URLs containing aces facebook.php. But anyway, that would be another one to check out. Anyway, so now we've established we've got roughly, I guess, 19 days worth of activity, because this vidoc.info destination was seen all the way back to November 11th, and we've seen it 1,900 times. That's pretty interesting. Let's actually go back. And we're not going to be able to easily get back to some of those older results without paging through things, so we probably won't go all the way back, but we can see what else we've got here. Just see if there's anything that looks different. Let's see what happens there. We'll see if I blow up the system. Okay, so we're still seeing this Google-info. So it's all the same we just have this long string after, which may or may not be unique. It looks unique based on what we're seeing here, but could just be whatever. So anyway, that identifies a campaign that's currently going on targeting Facebook Messenger. And there's a 600 odd different portals just in the last week. That would be a really good one to be able to go ahead and tag. So we can at least come here and let's see, we wanted to come back to the analysis site fingerprint. That's what we wanted. So this is where IDs will go, where we can create a new campaign, but we don't quite have that plumbed up yet. You won't see this when you log in, but we will. So anyway, let's go ahead and add a tag, and we can say that this is phishing. And we, the system's already identified as phishing, so we know that that's true. And you can go look and see what other kinds of seen as phishing. Lots of things that are still active. Lots of different fingerprints. But anyway, let's go ahead and actually I'll just quickly show you site fingerprints. So this is where that would end up. So in the next couple of minutes, this should update and capture. Yeah, okay. I saw the last week and last month and thought, oh, maybe it's not working, but it's still working. Anyway, so that would be where you would see the updates to things. Okay, so we're good there. You would see attack type phishing, and it would show up here. All right, so anyway, that's that. Now let's go look at current event kind of things. And like I said at the beginning of this threat hunting session, one of the things that's really popular right now, of course, in this part of the season, especially, well, not really in the US. Christmas is an all over the place thing. I was thinking about Black Friday for post Thanksgiving. But anyway, going back and looking at shopping and deals, right? So I'm going to go to do search, and I want to look across the last week, and I want to do destination contains deal, and we'll just see what we get. So this is looking for destinations that contain the phrase deal in them, in any part of the message. So we're going to get a lot. There's going to be a lot of really random things. But one that caught my eye a little bit earlier that I wanted to look at is this cruise-deal01.xyz. Pretty clear from the name what they're trying to target, at least on a high level. And so we can see that this was only analyzed once. It was analyzed today, and we can see that it's a parked site, right? So clear as day, we see cruise deals, we see all these different terms that are clearly trying to identify SEO, right? Essentially. I don't think the structural IDs had any other matches. I don't think the links ID had any other matches. But we see google.com, we see image.cedoparking.com, and then we see partner.googleadservices.com. Those three things combined often lead to a parking site. So we can look here and see what other ones we've seen that have that. And so May 31st is when site fingerprints went live. So we've seen since then almost 26,000 examples that have that set of destinations. We can see home health aid, or yeah, I don't know how to say that, but it definitely looks interesting. You see that one. We see that one. We saw a Cyrillic in the name. Villas for sale, bathroom remodel, antihypertensive drugs. A lot of interesting ones here. But none of them are live at this point. So this is potentially ahead of attacks. HVAC technician 11.FYI, Christmas loan 9. So many good ones. So we see all these different ones. And what it makes me think is we need to tag this as parking. And also not yet up. So that way, now again, the site fingerprints will update, and this will actually start getting identified as parking by us as we go, and then be treated a little bit more specially, looking for impersonations and whatnot. So there's a lot in here that are interesting to me. This Christmas loan 9.today. The fact that it has a 9 in there makes me think maybe there's 8 through 1, maybe beyond. So I want to kind of go to search, and we'll check the last. I'll check the last week. Destination contains Christmas loan. We'll see how this goes. So this would be looking for other sites across the last week, which may be too far back. Nope, worked fine. Great. All right, so we're looking for destinations that contain Christmas loan. We see quite a few, and we're not on one or the other TLD. We got .fun, .life, .fyi, .buzz, .live, .fyi, .site, all of these different things. So okay, so that one's parked. This one, at least, oh, okay. So it just wasn't identified as parked. I'm looking for any of these that might actually be alive. Let's see if this one's any good. Nope. Let's see this. Yeah, so this matches the fingerprint that we just added. So in the future, it would be identified as parking. Christmas loan 888 rather, Christmas loans. It looks like all of these are still down. Well, I shouldn't say down, it's not up yet. So it looks like there's very likely somebody who's going to be launching a scam, likely, potentially financial, against Chris loans, which is obviously something that people would be excited about right now. I wonder if they're going to launch it tomorrow, December 1st. But anyway, what we see is quite a bit of this Christmas loan, blah, dot, various TLDs. So that's really interesting stuff. Very likely something that we should pay attention to. Last thing that I wanted to do here before we stop, I want to actually search, and I'm just going to look for the last day. Instead of Christmas alone, I'm just going to look for Christmas because 'tis the season. So obviously this will match any of the things that we just saw, but I imagine that we're going to match other things. We're going to match legitimate things, and we're going to match not legitimate things. But let's see what we get from the last day. Okay, so a lot of these are Christmas alone. We got My Christmas Light Market, Your America Christmas.pages.dev. Sounds interesting. Dogs are really cool when you're trying to do stuff. Happy Easy Christmas Snow. Support Crisis Christmas. Support.crisis.christmas. Apparently a TLD Christmas. Gifts for Christmas. So that's been around for a while. They set it up early. Let's just see if there's anything on it. A Very Zombie Christmas Cod. Okay. So I don't know if they're going for an accent or what there, but we'll leave that one alone. This one looks like it was already down. It was actually first searched in April. So we're going to leave that one alone. I guess I should have looked at when these things were first searched. I think we have that. That's old 2. This one's old 2. Let's just check it though. Crisis at Christmas IT Help Desk. Interesting. We can just look and see, have we matched it elsewhere since August? We can just check the last 4 weeks. Have we seen any others? Okay, don't see any others. Okay. Support.crisis.christmas. Okay. So that's on that pages.dev. And then gift for Christmas 2023. Let's see what we got here. Thankfully, it's not bad stuff. Let's see, Christmas Assistance 2023. You can see that it says Thursday, April 6th. I think that's when. Yeah, so we saw it Friday, April 7th. So it's frozen in time. We weren't sure about what to do about it. Let's see if we've seen any other examples. Okay, so we don't see any others that look like that. Let's see, we've got some pretty unique destinations here. Seen the destinations 10 times. Biltmore Christmas, gifts for Christmas. Let's go back 4 weeks just to double check. Okay, so we see the same site twice. And let's just look at this real quick. It's a different kind of page. Whether or not it's malicious, I mean, based on the information that we have, I wouldn't know either. But I certainly wouldn't permission into the site. But I think that's where we'll stop for today. So we pivoted from base early alert. We found something that looked like it could have been Google from the name, but actually found out it was a pretty large Facebook targeting campaign for the last 3 weeks, 19 days specifically. And then we looked at things like deals found some stuff that was interesting that might have been targeting people looking for cruises, and then ended up looking at stuff that identified sites that were parked, not ready yet, that were targeting Christmas loans. So I think we found a lot of interesting things. I'd love if anybody who sees this, wants to dig deeper, finds those sites when they go live, etc., if Base doesn't find them itself. But with that, we'll go ahead and wrap up for today. And I hope you enjoyed it, and hope we can see you again.